Okay, I've been having some issues with oiling and the hot side of this RB setup, and it seems like the turbo seals they might be shot on this. They weren't, I don't remember them being ruined, or I don't remember having any issues with oiling on this turbo before I took it apart, but it has been sitting for a few years, so maybe something has happened over that time. But you can see it's gone here now. I'll show you the turbo over on the workbench, but so I also had a oil leak coming out of the back of the head, or the valve covers, I should say. So I RTV'd that and resealed it, so hopefully that fixes that issue. But this turbo is soaking wet in oil, and whenever I ran it for long enough, I was getting a lot of black smoke out the exhaust, so that is just not good. I'm not sure how so much oil is getting in this turbo, but I'll show you what it looks like. There's the gasket. You can just see it's soaking wet. And here is the 20 turbo. This little block was from the previous owner, and it's to space out the downpipe from the steering shaft so it doesn't hit. But look how oily that is. Just absolutely drenched in oil, and it started coming out of the outlet for the intercooler piping. So this was dripping right through the exhaust and down onto the ground underneath the car a little bit. So I figured I'd pull the turbo and just go with a RB25 turbo, which is this. I've had sitting on the side. Hopefully this doesn't have that same issue. I don't know the story behind this turbo, but it came with the car. So I had taken it apart a couple of years ago and just kind of cleaned up the compressor housing. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than the RB20 turbo. Slightly bigger. Just a small upgrade. Can run a little bit more boost in this. Not that I'm too worried about pushing a bunch of boost on this setup, but hopefully this turbo doesn't leak a whole bunch of oil, and hopefully it just bolts right up into the existing setup there, and I don't have to make any adjustments. So let's get it cleaned up and start fitting it back into the car.
2 hours later.
Okay, after a lot of cursing and swearing and some busted knuckles, we got the turbo in. Everything's buttoned up. The coolant line on the side, you can kind of see it right here. That is an absolute pain in the ass to try to get to. It's just so tough. You basically have to do that line first when you put the turbo in, so you can move the turbo around and kind of get your wrench in there. And it's also a very large wrench, 15/16. So it's tough to get in there. Everything else not too bad. Got my downpipe back in. Just need to put the heat shield on now. That and the elbow for the compressor housing, and we should be good to go. Okay, that sounded pretty good, actually. Sounded pretty good. Before I gassed myself out in here, I got the RB running pretty good. Look at this. This took me a while. This is some good fabrication. These engines don't really like to run without the intercooler hooked up, I found out, so the idle control valve isn't hooked up yet, so that's what you're hearing sucking. But yeah, it actually runs pretty smooth now with just a quick mock-up like this. Wow. Obviously, next step is to do a proper intercooler setup. I think this is pretty gangster. I might just leave it like this, honestly. Probably haven't filmed too much in between. I don't even really know what I filmed last. It's been just kind of trying to get this thing together, and it's just a lot of headaches and a lot of annoying things going wrong. So, but the intercooler, the stock intercooler piping that runs over the top of the engine, obviously wasn't going to work for this setup with front-facing manifold. So we're going to have to get new intercooler piping set up. The boy Clark's going to come through. We're going to fab up some proper piping, get rid of this junk, and run some nice pipes through these holes, and because that one is cooked. But yeah, I was doing some research online, and I saw some people commenting that RBs really don't, well, the 20s, I guess, with the MAFs specifically, the mass airflow sensors, they don't like to run without the intercooler piping on them. And I was kind of weary on that. I was like, what? That shouldn't matter. But I decided to hook it up like this, and the car actually idles and runs and revs somewhat decent. The only, as you saw, I don't have the idle air control valve plumbed in, which has to go, I believe that has to go pre-throttle body. So somewhere's routed into the piping before the throttle body. So sorted out, and that should make sure there's no boost leaks, obviously, because this setup here it's not even clamped down. It's just a bunch of really crappy fittings just lightly put in there. So super cool to see it run like that. It's been 5 years since I've heard this thing idle properly, but yeah, that's huge. So I think what I'm gonna do is upgrade the rad setup. This the stock KA rad. I think I'm gonna get a thicker core and a new fan setup, because the fan was originally just the KA fan, which is that dusty thing. I don't think that does much of anything. So maybe get some pusher fans, because with RBs and S chassis, there's not much room between the rad and the crank pulley. So I don't think we'll have the option to do a nice puller fan setup. I've seen some people notch out the rad support and tilt their cores back to give some more room, but I'm not sure what I want to do. I might just do some pusher fans. This thing's not pushing any big power. It doesn't get overly hot here in the summer. There's a few really hot weeks, but other than that, it stays pretty cool. So I think pusher fans should be all right, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Little update.